The document object model. Because JavaScript works hand in hand with HTML, you need to know how to interact with HTML via JavaScript code. The DOM, or document object model, is the interface that allows JavaScript to interact with HTML. Every element in the HTML document is a node in a tree structure with parent nodes, child nodes, and sibling nodes. For example, in this figure, the HTML is parent to the head and the body area on the page. And then the body is parent to its children, header and article, which are siblings, and so on. These elements model how the browser presents the page to the user. JavaScript can access, change, add, or delete elements in HTML by interacting with the DOM. You can reference or select these elements using JavaScript with the following methods. The code shows the elements being selected and then assigned to a constant. Query selector selects the first element that matches the specified CSS selector. In this example, it finds the element with an ID of my ID name. There should be only one element with that ID name, and therefore the constant element will be assigned that one element. Query selector all selects all elements that match the specified CSS selector and returns a node list instead of just a single element. In this example, it finds all elements with the class of my class name, and there could be multiple elements with this class name. So in this case, the constant element could be assigned a list of elements. A useful aspect of both query selector methods is that they use the same CSS selectors with the dot for classes and the hashtag for IDs and element names. getElementID selects the first element with the specified ID attribute. Notice here that you don't have to use the hashtag because the method name getElementById already references that you are looking for an ID. getElementsByClassName selects all elements with the specified class name and returns multiple elements. Again, you don't have to use the dot for class since the method name refers to the class name already. getElementsByTagName selects all elements with a specific tag, like div, p, etc., and can return multiple elements. In the figure, the first three statements use query selector to select an element with the ID container, an H1 element, and an element with the class description. The last statement uses getElementById, and each of these four elements is then assigned to a constant. Once you've selected the elements, you can use different properties to change, add, or delete information about the element. For example, to change the content of an element in JavaScript, you can use these properties. Inner HTML sets or gets the HTML content inside of an element. In this example, the element will have its content replaced with this new paragraph. Inner text sets or gets the visible text inside of an element. Text content is similar to inner text but includes any hidden elements. .value is used with form input or text area elements to set or get the input values. Often you will see the .value property to get the value from the user's input instead of setting a value like this. We can change the text in our title using inner HTML, where it originally said, "Welcome to the page" in HTML, it now says, "Hello, JavaScript world." In addition to changing the content of an element, JavaScript allows you to change how the element is styled. The style property can be followed by any CSS property in camel case, which is then assigned a value. .style is the property used here to change the font color of the element to blue, the background color to yellow, and the font size to 20 pixels. You can also get or set a class name on elements to change how they are styled. Class name will replace any existing classes. Here it's being assigned a new class called new class, which will automatically bring in any CSS rules that are assigned to that class. A more flexible way to work with classes is by using class list, which allows you to add, remove, toggle, and check classes with the add, remove, or toggle methods. Toggle will add the class if it's not already added, or will remove it if it's already added. You can use style background color to assign a light blue to the container. You can also add a class to an element. If you already have CSS that styles any element with the class highlighted to have a yellow background color, you can add that class to the description paragraph using the class list.add. You can even create elements that don't exist in HTML using create element. Here we are creating a new paragraph and assigning it to the constant new paragraph. And then we can give that new paragraph some content. And then we can add it to the HTML with the append child. We could even remove the new paragraph with .remove. Here is a new paragraph element that's been created using create element. It then gets content with text content and is added after the other elements in the container div to the page with the append child. Another way you can see a new element added along with the content is to use inner HTML. It creates a new HTML paragraph inside the container element and gives it content at the same time. The first example uses append child. Using append child is generally safer and more efficient for adding elements, but it takes more code to implement. While inner HTML is quick and simple, it comes with trade-offs in terms of security and performance. Inner HTML also replaces everything inside the container, whereas append child would only add the new container to the end of what was already there. You can add an attribute to an element using the set attribute method. For example, if you wanted to add a new SRC or source attribute to an image element, you can assign it in this way in JavaScript. The element would set a new attribute, the SRC, which is the first parameter, to the new image file, which is the second parameter. You can even retrieve and remove attributes as well. Get attribute would retrieve the SRC that's currently in that element, and the remove attribute would remove that attribute from that element. Here, a new image has been created with create element, and then we have added two attributes with the set attribute. First, the SRC or source attribute of a JavaScript logo that we already have in our images folder, and then an alt or alternative text description. Lastly, we need to add it to the page with the append child. So there we have just a few of the DOM properties and methods demonstrated that you could use to retrieve or get the output you want to the user, using JavaScript to interact with the DOM of the HTML.